On the Las Vegas Raiders rundown, we are going to talk about Josh McDaniels not knowing whether or not Darren Waller will make the Week 1 game against the Chargers. Plus, the Raiders are still balling out at training camp on the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, and the O-line is improving. We will be talking about reports from both Raiders reporters and Patriots reporters on what's going on in joint practices today. Like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Raiders rundown for more Raiders content.
We saw him once last week. Are you concerned with the extended absence, and do you expect him back by week?
I'm not concerned. He's doing, like I said, he's doing everything he can to get out there as soon as he can be. And I don't want to make a prediction on whether he will or won't be ready here in a few weeks. But, you know, like I said, I see him every day. He's in every meeting. He's doing everything he can to get out there as fast as possible, which a lot of our guys, we don't have that many guys that are in that boat right now. Darren certainly is one of them, but working his butt off. And I feel like this is, you know, he knows that he's going to be a big part of this team and what we want to do. And he's right there, at, like I said, in every meeting, but I'm not concerned about it.
Josh McDaniels there talking about Darren Waller, saying, hey, I talk to this guy every day. He's in our long-term plans. And as a Darren Waller fan, that's a good thing to hear. But what's a bad thing to hear is the fact that Josh McDaniels cannot commit to whether or not Darren Waller will make this Week 1 regular season game against the Chargers. We know the Chargers cornerback J.C. Jackson is going through surgery, so he'll likely miss the first regular season game. But hey, Waller might miss the first game as well. Hopefully Josh McDaniels is just trying to create some mystery as to whether or not Waller is going to be able to play Week 1 just to confuse the Chargers game plan. But this is a huge concern because of how talented Darren Waller is and how much he could really contribute to this football team. We know he was at the Aces game, then returned to practice, and after one day at practice, he hasn't been there since. It's been multiple days since he's been at practice, and that one day he was at practice, he was gone multiple days before then. So hey, this could either be a contract issue. We can't ignore that. We can't ignore the fact that this contract lurks in the background, and it's a tricky situation if you're a Raiders fan, because on one hand, if it's an injury, that's bad because then the guy might not be healthy for Week 1 against the Chargers. And on the other hand, if it's a contract issue, that's bad because the guy, you know, might be demanding more money and might not be showing up to practice because he needs more money. Either way, though, I think it was good news to hear that Josh McDaniels is in conversation with Waller every day. He didn't say, oh, you know, he's been at home or anything. He's in the building. So hopefully Darren Waller can get rehabbed, fix this hamstring, and come back. But there are a couple of offensive linemen who could be back to help the Raiders. Brandon Parker and Thayer Mumford. Josh McDaniels did sound optimistic about whether or not they'll return sooner than later, meaning we're likely not going to see them on the PUP list. We know there is the opportunity to still put a player on the PUP list. They have to miss the first 4 games of the season, but you're able to stash them if they're kind of banged up, if they're kind of hurt. That might not be the case here based on what Josh McDaniels is saying, and hopefully it's not, because we need competition at the right tackle position. I have been impressed with Jermaine Illuminor. Josh McDaniels has seen kind of positive about him. He's a veteran as well, like Brandon Parker, but has familiarity with the Patriots offensive scheme. However, competition, you know, makes people better, and as long as you got a lot of competition, people like Mumford, people like Parker in the mix, I think it would only make Illuminor even better. People who are not at practice other than Darren Waller, there is a list. Obviously, the tackles, Grasu, Lancaster, Matthias Farley, Quintero Cole, just to name a few, and the tight end Hollister. No big names here, especially when you're starting to think about the 53-man roster. The roster cuts coming soon. August 30th, the Raiders will have to trim down to 53 players and some practice squad guys. So these people missing some time is going to hurt their stock, and we'll have to evaluate and see soon who's going to make this 53. But the Raiders continue to ball out against the Patriots. Yesterday was complete domination, although there were some things that happened yesterday that a lot of people didn't report, because I am taking a look at some of the Patriots reporters, the positives they're saying against the Raiders. Derek Carr was sacked 3 times yesterday. Offensive line still a little bit of an issue, even though we saw some improvements today. Devontae Adams looked great today, beating John Jones, Jalen Mills apiece. Carr was 4 for 5 when targeting Adams. Only 1 pass breakup. That's a pretty good percentage. 4 for 5 for Derek Carr. Hunter Renfrow also going off too as well without Waller. Keep in mind, all of this is without Waller, and that was the story yesterday. Tons of people, even Patriots supporters, saying the Raiders did look amazing. They did look clearly better offensively than the Patriots, but that was all without Darren Waller. So imagine if we had Darren Waller, just makes the Raiders even more impressive, and that's the same thing happening today. Balling out, day 2 of Adams bullying Patriots cornerbacks without Waller, and maybe with the absence of Waller, the coaching staff and everyone's thinking, how good is this team without Darren Waller? Are we able to still ball out with just Renfrow, with just Devontae Adams, with also Foster Moreau instead of Darren Waller in the goal line. You saw Adams and Hunter Renfrow have some great times in the goal line, beating Jonathan Jones and Miles Bryant as well. And Carr and Adams, the chemistry is continuing to be there. Should they play in preseason? That's a question. Probably not. When you're hearing all these reports about the fact that they're picking up right where they left off yesterday, in sync. We know these guys have practiced for years and years and years. Even when Devontae was in Green Bay, that Fresno State connection is still alive and ripe. And by the way, Mac Hollins is also getting in the mix, not just making some Instagram TikToks and stuff. He's actually making some plays on the field this time. And you see Mac Hollins getting a touchdown pass, back-to-back touchdowns, Carr to Adams, then Carr to Mac Hollins. And in the red zone, the Raiders also did impress. You see Foster Moreau getting a diving touchdown in the end zone. Also, Amir Abdullah getting into that passing game as well. We know he is probably a lock to make the 53-man roster after you've seen Kenyon Drake get released, and hopefully we'll get some more Taekwondo kicks by Amir Abdullah. And even this Patriots.com reporter, Evan Lazar, was praising the Raiders yesterday, and he had to confess today, when it comes to the offensive line versus defensive line, you got to give the nod to the Raiders offensive line. We know the Raiders gave up three sacks yesterday to Derek Carr, but today Raiders offensive line in 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, not 11 on 11 drills and stuff like that, but the Raiders were able to get the W against the Patriots defensive line. Keep in mind, the Patriots defensive line, no joke, especially when they got the outside linebacker edge rushers like Matthew Judon, Christian Barmore as well in the interior defensive line. Good reps for the Raiders offensive line to get when it comes to preparing for the regular season. But, you know, we really got to prepare on our terminology and the fact that Bill Belichick and the Patriots knows everything about Josh McDaniels and our offense. And here was a problem that happened in practice yesterday and also today is during the 2-minute drill, during practice, the Patriots defense was able to call out plays, straight up new Josh McDaniels plays. That's some scary stuff to me, given the fact that we're going to play the Patriots in the regular season. We can't have these guys knowing the freaking playbook. And it was funny because Josh McDaniels ended up blasting music today at practice. This was reported by tons of people. I believe The Athletic was reporting this, just to make sure that the Patriots could not hear the new terminology that McDaniels is using for some of these plays. But we got to watch out, man, especially when we're facing Bill Belichick in the regular season. And the Raiders defense continues to impress, wreaking havoc on Mac Jones. Mac Jones did not have much time in the pocket. We know it was a terrible performance yesterday for the Patriots. They had a bunch of run stuffs, a couple sacks as well, and 2 interceptions by Jayon Brown yesterday. And also Jonathan Abram was able to get the interception today, getting a pick. Raiders had a couple picks today as well, one of them by Jonathan Abram. Good to see Abram improve and hopefully be able to find a role and bounce back and kind of live up to that first round pick and really turn everything around this year. Hopefully we see the best of Jonathan Abram this year. And the thing about Mac Jones and the Patriots offense is they just really struggled because of the pressure, because of Chandler Jones, Max Crosby bringing the heat. They had to check it down, do a bunch of short passing plays, not much for the New England Patriots. And Chandler Jones was getting some pressure, was actually able to have some highs because we know that he's been out of practice. He missed a lot of time at the same time that Cleveland Ferrell was missing some time, and he had a lot of would-be sacks on Mac Jones. Obviously, they're not going to let them crack Mac Jones, so he probably just put his arms around him a little bit. But Chandler Jones able to beat that offensive lineman, get the pressure. That's what we like to see if you're a Raiders fan. And even when the Patriots did have time, when there wasn't the pressure there, the Patriots had to check the ball down a lot of times, which is good to see, showing that our cornerbacks and our secondary are able to have some pretty good coverage, resulting in checkdowns, or Mac Jones just has to check the ball down. But let's go into some of the positives that the Patriots were able to do against this Raiders team, and that's Ty Montgomery, the receiving back, able to get a touchdown on Jayon Brown in the 7-on-7 drills. Jayon Brown had 2 picks yesterday. Interesting that we haven't heard too much about Divine Diablo, hearing a lot about Jayon Brown in these joint practices. Who knows if he's higher on the depth chart than Divine Diablo? Who knows? Time will tell, but the Patriots still getting some success there with the running back passes. And also, Patriots O-line versus the Raiders D-line in one-on-ones. Keep in mind, Isaiah Wynn did win a rep against Max Crosby. They went 1 for 1, according to Evan Lazar of Patriots.com. Trent Brown was able to get the W over Chandler Jones. And I know we hate fat-ass Trent Brown, but he's still a pretty good tackle in the NFL. And Onwenu, the Patriots offensive lineman, did really well against Kyle Pecco. So the interior defensive line is still, I believe, a question mark for the Raiders. I have not heard much about Bilal Nichols. We know he returned from the PUP list, but since then, we haven't haven't seen him play in preseason, and we don't really know how healthy Bilal Nichols is and why. Why is Kyle Peko, somebody who's on, you know, a veteran minimum contract, compared to Bilal Nichols, who's getting paid roughly $6 million a year? Why are we hearing about Kyle Peko and not Bilal Nichols? I think this is a concern. And another concern is the fact that it's not all perfect. The Raiders always have room to improve in terms of their passing game. Devontae Adams and Tyron Johnson, yes, had some victories, but at the same time, Jalen Mills on one-on-ones was able to get some pass breakups against Devontae Adams, against Tyron Johnson, which is really impressive for the cornerback of the New England Patriots, being able to win some reps against Devontae Adams. And also, Hunter Renfrow was able to get some victories, but Miles Bryant, the defender of the Patriots, able to get some pass breakups on Hunter Renfrow and Keelan Cole when covering those players. So even though we didn't throw any picks, which I have not heard Carr throwing an interception, which is freaking awesome, not throwing a pick, especially when you're seeing Mac Jones throw pick after pick after pick after pick. No picks for Carr, but hey, it's not like it's 100% completion percentage. Patriots still able to get some pass breakups. And you know, the best thing about this joint practice, and at first, you know, I was kind of reluctant about this because I was like, you know what, we want some real tough competition. But the fact that New England, Bill Belichick, he's friends with Josh McDaniels, you know, that's his guy, that's the dude he mentored. You know, we're able to have a safe, healthy practice. So a lot less hitting compared to the Rams versus Raiders practice that happened last year that ended up getting a little bit crazy. Less hitting, meaning that our guys are going to get healthy and stay healthy in this process, but still be able to get some pretty good reps. So good to see. Hey, one more day, and then it's the preseason game on Friday. I'd like you guys to join me and my co-host Hotspot Audrey Friday during the preseason game live on this channel. We'll be doing live play-by-play for those of you who cannot see the game, and we'll be reacting, having some fun, and playing some games in the process. So I hope you join us. Hey, my name is WiFiWillie. Like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Raiders Rundown for more Raiders content. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.